So this is the subject of today's video, the London Overground Gospel Oak to Barking line. This is a walk I've actually had on my agenda from when I used to do a radio show on Resonance FM with Nick Papadimitriou called Ventures and Adventures in Topography. I'll link to the podcast below. And this is one of the episodes we never recorded, walking along the London Overground line, which runs from Gospel Oak in North London out to Barking out east. Today, obviously, I'm only walking from here in Leytonstone to Barking. So we're starting here at the Heathcote Arms, which is going to be open in 2 days' time. Today is the Thursday, the 2nd of July, and the pub will be open on Saturday the 4th. In non-COVID times, you can actually walk along the railway sidings over here, because there's a number of small businesses now in the railway arches, including there's a brewery which I think are based in Ilford called Solvay Society, and they have a tap room there where you can go and have a drink. I think they are actually reopening at the weekend as well, and they're doing outside drinking. It's kind of a theme of the London Overground, are the microbreweries and tap rooms in the railway arches. Well, actually, I could have walked along here, couldn't I? Look, they've opened up the gates, a sign that the businesses are up and running again along here. And the thing with these railway walks, they tend to be a little bit like river walks in some cases, where you're having to zigzag around in order to return to the railway. Look, there it is. Down there. This first bit particularly, we're going to be going sort of in and out until we get to the other side of Forest Gate. And this housing estate here near Leytonstone High Road Station is the former home of Leytonstone Football Club. Talked about that in a recent video. And this is a fitting tribute to one of the greatest film directors that ever lived, Alfred Hitchcock, the Hitchcock Business Centre. Our first station of the walk, Leytonstone High Road. And the advice from the government and Transport for London is still very much to avoid public transport where possible. Walk or cycle if you can. So I shall be walking to Barking and walking back again. They did a lot of work upgrading this overground line a couple of years ago, because it went from being kind of like very much a kind of side line that wasn't particularly well used to being incredibly busy. I used to catch it myself to go to work up in Kentish Town. It became rammed, so they lengthened the platforms to get longer trains on it, and then they electrified the line. Except that not only did the work electrifying the line take much longer than expected, but when it was finished, they didn't have the actual longer trains to run on the line, so they ended up just putting the old diesel trains back on there. And this was out of service for quite a long time, for about a good year and a half. This is the wonderful new mosaic roundel that's only recently been installed about a week ago. Of a local artist called Maud Milton. So this is where I am here. You can see you are here, and then our next station here is Wanstead Park. So we've got to kind of zigzag around the streets a little bit to follow this line. Unfortunately, it's not a road that goes along it, so it should take us a bit longer than it would do normally. So I did a very short bit of this walk with the great London writer Iain Sinclair, who wrote about it for his book The Last London, and he did the full length from Gospel Oak out to Barking. And I think it was the day after the last US presidential elections. That tells you when it was, November 2016. He writes a great account of that walk. There's a photograph of me in that book looking slightly deranged. But Ian cut across Wanstead Flats. I want to try and stay as close as possible to the railway today, so I'm going to go through these streets here. This is one of those local roads. I don't think I've ever been down here. So this is Lancaster Road, and I think I might be able to turn right and walk parallel to the railway. Obviously have to reference this beautiful former cinema here on Leytonstone High Road that's featured in quite a few of my videos. And this is another road I've never been down before as well. It seems like a relatively recent development, doesn't it? It's sort of like 1980s. This diagram of the estate is almost like a piece of modern art, isn't it? It's quite beautiful. This is the Leytonstone Tavern here on Harrow Road. Now, I'm thinking I might actually cut through onto Can Hall Road rather than zigzag. I've already got fed up with the zigzagging and I've only just started. So you can see the railway line is just down there, running between the trees. If I go down there under that line, I've got to go all the way around the block. So I think I'm going to take this road here. What's it called? I'm going to go down Woodhouse Road. This pub here was formerly the Woodhouse Tavern. Onto Can Hall Road, one of the most significant streets in Leytonstone. When you see how close that railway runs to the houses, it runs right near my house as well. It's incredible to think that in the 1980s they were carrying nuclear waste on that line. They would do it at night time and it was done in secret, supposedly because it was a security issue. But some journalists discovered it. Of course, there was a massive outcry because they're carrying nuclear waste right near people's homes, right through a very densely populated area. If there'd been an accident, it would have been a catastrophe. And actually, such an accident did happen in January this year when a freight train got derailed and it ran for about 2 miles up the line and it just tore all the track up. Obviously, it wasn't carrying anything dangerous at the time, but it made you think if such an accident as that had happened in the days when they were carrying nuclear waste, no one would be living here right now, that's for sure. Beautiful old church here. It's a stunning lump of bricks, isn't it? It really is a massive church, isn't it? I love these bent old metal railings with several generations of paint peeling back. They tell a story, don't they? And next door you got Leytonstone Tabernacle Church. This is a classic kind of railway development here, sort of late 19th century, from the 1860s onwards. These houses would have been built and then the churches followed not long afterwards in about the 1880s, mostly around to the turn of the century. Of course, the population of this area boomed. These were big estates, big landed estates, often around a large manor house. Here it was the Cannon Hall that became Can Hall Road. And Cannon Hall dates from the Middle Ages. It goes back, it's on all the old maps. This is interesting. This is Buxton School, formerly Tom Hood School. It's interesting, it's always taken its name from a local notable person. Tom Hood was a poet associated with the area. Of course, Buxton, from the famous Buxton family, associated with the abolitionist movement to abolish slavery, but also the saving of Epping Forest, and the Buxtons have got many achievements to their name. And someone emailed me recently to say that this is where Bobby Moore went to school. The famous Bobby Moore, the only Englishman to lift the World Cup, captain of the 1966 World Cup winning team, captain of West Ham United, eternal legend Bobby Moore. This is a grand old building here on the corner of Woodhouse Road and Can Hall Road. You can see a little bit of the ghost sign popping through up there, can't you? I wonder what this used to be. And there's the railway bridge there. They've lost the gate there from Forest Gate, which is kind of controversial because we are still in Waltham Forest. The Forest Gate is in Newham, so it's a bit of a geographical anomaly, really. We will turn here into Balmoral Road. That geographical anomaly has a name, and it's called the Wanstead Slip. I don't fully understand it. It goes something like this, that there was a parcel of land in West Ham that was part of the parish of Wanstead. Wanstead is on the other side of Wanstead Flats here. We've got the railway line, and just beyond that you've got Wanstead Flats, beyond that you have Wanstead, and this here was included in the parish of Wanstead. At some point this parcel of land called the Wanstead Slip became part of the borough of Leyton, and hence then it became part of Waltham Forest. So you've got a nest of streets really that traditionally should really be in the old borough of West Ham and then in Newham, but are retained in Waltham Forest. That's kind of a sort of explanation. That train was incredibly quick, wasn't it? More beautiful old iron railings here. And today is another example of rubbish weather forecasting. It's supposed to be raining right now, according to the weather forecast. Look, it's beautiful. And we're going to turn into Sheridan Road, which my guess is that's named after the poet Sheridan. And we can walk alongside the railway line here. And you can see, look, some of the businesses in the railway arches. And we're hopefully going to be visiting one of them. I bet you can guess which one. So here we have the pretty decent beer company. People keep recommending them to me, keep saying you've got to go over there and drink some beer. I didn't know where it was before, so here it is, and you can get a pint here at the weekend. They'll be serving beer at the front door. So here's a plan for Sunday. After I've uploaded this video, Solvay Society for one, back there, come round to here, get a pint from the pretty decent beer company, and then go to just beyond this row of houses here and further along the railway arches and get a drink from the Wanstead Tap. What a day! It's an overground railway pub crawl, and I think actually there's another brewery near Leytonstone Road as well. What more can you want? See you Sunday evening. So the Wanstead Tap is just behind that house there, but annoyingly we've got to walk all the way around the block. I am going to go the long way because I want to see a little bit of Wanstead Flats. There's the wonderful Wanstead Flats over there. It's the place I've been walking most of all during the lockdown. Regular laps around Wanstead Flats and through Wanstead Park. Right where those people are is where Bobby Moore used to kick a ball around. So we'll just go down here, down Hesketh Road, and then if we turn right we can reconnect with the railway and hopefully the Wanstead Tap. Oh, here we go. Freight train carrying all our food on it. I'm really hoping I can get some draft beer from the Wanstead Tap. It's almost become an obligatory thing now on these walks. I can pick up a couple of pints of draft. Fingers crossed. Well, this is a bit posh. This wasn't here before. And it is open. My prayers have been answered. Oh yes, a result. This is a beautiful 2.5 pints of long player from Bianca Lane Brewery in Bermondsey. Delicious. Can't wait to get stuck into this. At the end of the walk, I'm not going to drink it as I go along. I'm going to wait till I get home. I really love the Wanstead Tap. I've got quite a long relationship with that venue going back to 2014, I think it was. I did an event for my book in there, This Other London, that was fantastic. And then I did an event in there actually with Iain Sinclair for The Last London, talking about the walk that I'm doing now that Iain did in that book. I've done events in there with Rachel Lichtenstein, Will Asher, and it's an amazing venue. I'd say it's one of the best small venues in London, bar none. They have great music in there, they have fantastic author events, and also now brilliantly you can get your merch for Clapton CFC from there. They've got the shirts in there. They're very popular away shirt. So get to the Wanstead Tap, get some beer from the Wanstead Tap, support a brilliant local venue, and they're going to be open at the weekend. They're really well prepared. It's amazing all the things they're doing to prepare for it. Wild Goose Bakery make the most delicious cinnamon buns. This is Woodgrange Road. We're at Wanstead Park Station just here. This would have been one of the approaches to the Grand Wanstead House. This is where the wealthy guests, their house travelling out from London, would have passed along this road. I think Woodgrange was one of the large houses, and this road ran through its land. Forest Gate literally means the gate at one of the entrances to the forest. It's not a cryptic one. This was the famous Eagle and Child public house, one of the kind of most notable locations in Forest Gate. Goes back on the maps, saw on a map dated at 1777. I'm sure it probably goes back even longer than that. It's another pub which was notable as being a kind of resort for day tripping Londoners. They would stop here on their way out into the forest. Further down Woodgrange Road, you had the Uppercut Club. Well, they had some incredible acts play there in the past. I mean, it's most famous for where Jimi Hendrix played, and he used to stay in a flat, I think, nearby. But also Otis Redding played there. It's an incredible place. And then not far from the Uppercut, you had the gym where Arnold Schwarzenegger trained for years. And apparently at one point he used to sleep in the gym before moving into a flat nearby. I don't think they were here at the same time, but I love the idea of Arnie and Jimi Hendrix going for a wander up and down this road, going for a wander over Wanstead Flats. That curious building over there has a story to tell. There's some information about this on a great local website called E7 Now and Then, I think it's called. Of course, the local estate agents have taken to calling this area now Forest Great rather than Forest Gate. And it is great. And we will turn now into Sebert Road, another of Forest Gate's notable thoroughfares. So Sebert Road here is named after one of the kings of the East Saxons, Essex, to you and me. King Sebert, who I think was the first Saxon king to convert to Christianity by, Miletus, who was subsequently, I think, the first Bishop of London. I may have got the name slightly wrong there. But of course, when Sebert died, his sons remained pagan. Good on them. And they chased the Christian bishop out of London, and it reverted to being a kind of pagan land again. I'm going to say a little hello to good friends of mine who live in this area, Stuart and Raina and Kate and Andy. You can see why they call it Forest Great, can't you? Loads of great people living here. This church is often pulled out as being a kind of very notable building in the area. I'm not massively sure why, but it is a great building, isn't it? It's the Congregational Church. And these houses here were built on land that was owned by Samuel Gurney, another Quaker from the famous Gurney Quaker family, and they were a very notable banking family. I think their bank was known as the Bankers' Bankers. They were a huge bank. Even the famous bankers that you've heard about used to borrow money from the Gurneys. And that's interesting, isn't it? People don't often associate Quakers with banking, but they were very dominant in banking in this country. A lot of the high street banks that are still around today started life as Quaker banks. Gurneys merged to form Barclays Bank in the end. What's lurking behind this buddleia here? Looks like an old, I don't know what it is, maybe an old chapel perhaps? An old barn? Entrance to Manor Park Cemetery down there. We're going to turn right here and go down Balmoral Road. This is almost like a little vignette of 60s and 70s London, isn't it, here? That pigeon seems determined to get through that gap in the fence. Oh, and it's done it. turn from Balmoral Road into Hampton Road. These are quite grand houses that would have been built for city workers probably. You can tell by the names what they were kind of harking after: Balmoral, Hampton, Royal Associations, palaces. I may have been a bit harsh on the old weather forecast. We are getting a few spots of rain now, so I've had to put on a waterproof jacket, mostly to keep my camera dry. This is a fantastic block of modernist flats here in Hampton Road. Look at that, what a real beauty. Woodgrange Court it's called. Fantastic building. And this week's Roman Road here, Romford Road. The last two walks have crossed a Roman Road, and we should be crossing the Romford Road here. An old Roman road that went out to Colchester. And the railway passes over just a little bit along there, but we're going to go to the right here down Shrewsbury Road. The Rising Sun Public House here on Romford Road. Place that I'm sure has memories for some of you. I think it does for me as well. I think I remember going in there when I first moved to London 1989 as a callow 18-year-old youth, and I lived just off the Romford Road. I think I went in there one day. It's raining quite heavily now, so I've got to keep my camera inside my jacket. We're in Manor Park now. We're just going to cross the road and hug the railway line. Hippie fish bar. When you look at the old maps, sort of like the 1860s, 1863, 1873, from this point, from Romford Road, the Overground ran through open fields. None of this was here, just open farmland. A couple of the big houses and manor houses were here, big halls, but that was it. It was all just fields between here and Barking Abbey. Our second Sheridan Road of the day. It's quite strong. It's quite a strong association with the area, isn't it? So we're going to cross over into Shakespeare Crescent now, from Sheridan to Shakespeare. This is a real poet's walk today, isn't it? And down there you can see the first sign of the Roding Valley pylons. We will be crossing the River Roding towards the end of this walk. This area was quite heavily bombed during the Second World War because it was on the bombing run into the Royal Docks. Bridge over the railway tracks. What's this enormous, great big monolith here? On Southend Road by the train tracks. I sort of feel like it's got something to do with electricity for the tube, but I could be wrong. So this former pub here, the Roding, I think this is where Gary Lammin told me of the Bermondsey Joinery artist Gary Lammin, famous for being in a band called Cock Sparrow, one of the notable early punk bands. I think he said Malcolm McLaren came to see him do a gig here and they had a drink here in the Roding. I'm pretty sure this is the pub. Malcolm McLaren in there drinking gin and tonics, getting dirty looks from the builders. Past the ghost of another pub into Watson Avenue. Let's hope it's a reference to Dr. Watson from Sherlock Holmes. I doubt it somehow. So this is a very large tract of kind of now overgrown waste ground, but it must be something to do with the gasworks over there. I love spaces like this. National Grid. What an amazing landscape. If you want to know what edgelands are, here it is. The gasometer in the old waste ground, the overground football pitches, the pylons, the arterial road, a water tower in the distance, a river, the railways, and the edge of the town centre. It's all here. self-storage, the old industrial estate here, all the hallmarks of the Edgelands. It's kind of ironic that this is the walk that I do today, because just lately I've been missing the countryside of my country walks that I'd be doing in the midsummer on the long days, walking into sunset across a field. I can't get there, and this is where I end up. But this is beautiful in its own ways, very powerful and resonant landscape. And of course, 200 years ago, this would have been the countryside. So we're having to actually sort of walk away from the railway now as we hit the edge of Barking town centre. So we have to walk around this industrial estate, and then we can reconnect with the railway at the actual station, at its terminus at the end of the line. Currently, the Overground, the Gospel Oak to Barking line, sometimes known as the GOBLIN line, that currently terminates at Barking, but due to the enormous amount of development going on in Barking, it is one of the biggest development schemes in London, if not the biggest development along Barking Riverside, from Barking all the way out to Dagenham. I went down there a couple of years ago. So they're going to extend the railway line from Barking town centre out to Barking Riverside. Significant place. Some of you, I'm sure, will know this place very well. London's Public Carriage Office Licence Centre. And they do topographical training there. You know what those words do to me. That just is now loaded with kind of mysticism and kind of glamour. And a beautiful river roading. I've walked along this path here to the left. I'll link to that below. There's the inevitable video and a walk down through the wharfs here. I've also walked out to Barking Riverside. I'll link that video below as well. Station to the left here. I think they're trying to rebrand Barking Riverside as Barcelona-on-Thames or something like that, I've heard used. But there's a massive amount of development going on here. Some here. And then the other side of the road as well, all through Barking and all the way out to Dagenham. Forever associated for many people with the Barking Bard, Billy Bragg, Barking now is seen as almost the future of London. Everything is heading east out here to Barking. Here's the train line as it comes towards the end of its journey into Barking. The Spotted Dog pub, waiting to come back to life at the weekends. The Barking Dog Wetherspoons right next to the station here. And there it is, Barking Station, the end of the line and the end of the walk. So thank you so much for joining me on this railway ramble along the Overground from Leytonstone to Barking. What a great walk it was, even despite the rain. I've got some lovely fresh beer to drink from the Wanstead Tap when I get home. I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you to my fellow travellers and radical ramblers on Patreon. And, you know, massive thank you to all of you that keep coming back to watch these videos. Those of you that subscribe, do share the videos and leave your wonderful comments. I'm looking forward to the comments on this one. I think there's going to be some good comments filling in my absence of knowledge about the area I've just walked through. So with that, I look forward to seeing you on the next walk, wherever that may be. I'm going to walk back to Leytonstone now.